right, hello everyone and welcome to this week's special presentation, Become a Swing Trading Wizard. My name is Steve Chappell, the Director of Trading Systems Development here at VectorVest, and I'm delighted to be your host for this presentation because boy do I have a very robust trading system to share with each and every single one of you here today. And so let's get right to it. Yeah, I like to hit you with the proof is in the pudding right up front. What you're looking at here is not a back test. This is a screenshot taken from RoboTrader, and you're looking at an 83% return since October of 2019. There are some things to talk about, because we've done this same presentation several times over the last 3 years, as we've been running this same methodology for 3 consecutive years, almost. It will be in April of this year. And this has been our experience. We've been clocking a 50 to 60% annualized rate of return for the last 3 years consecutively. And it very much moves in the same kind of fashion that you see on this chart. So that's really nice because I want to give you a little bit of a walkthrough of the experience here. If you start on the left-hand side of the chart and kind of work your way across, you will see some rather big jumps. Times where the stocks that are going to be in this portfolio just explode. There are going to be times where we trade through, a bit of back and forth, and once we get on the other side of it, it explodes again. And so that is the nature of the system that we're going to be describing. But what is really nice to share with you is that this isn't just our experience from, again, this past year. It's been our experience ever since we turned it loose as an idea back in April of 2018. And so it's worth talking about. It really is. And so we're going to do a lot more of it. Another thing that I want you to pick up on this graphic, if you draw your eye to where my cursor is right in the middle of the equity curve here, and we look at the COVID situation, here is a trading system that was able to cope with that whole situation very, very well indeed, where we only experienced a 6.95% drawdown as a result of that entire experience, and so this is a system that will keep you out of harm's way when the market comes off its rails, and boy, when it starts to really cook, it's going to take advantage of it and take advantage of it quickly. And those are the main messages I want to get across here early. There's a lot more to talk about. We're going to talk about how we got here and hopefully share with you something that you'll consider doing yourself, right? So let's get right to it. This system is going to be comprised of 3 cornerstones, is how I like to lay it out. And so your system, folks, is going to determine your success. I just want to get that out of the way quick. And that is, systematic is the way to go for most folks, because you can just rely on the system to carry you through no matter what the market throws at you, right? And so our 3 cornerstones are going to be when to buy, when do I start buying stocks at all, what do I buy, and finally, maybe the most important, right? When do I sell to capture those profits or even potentially cut losers early, right? So let's talk about how we get there. And we're going to break it down piece by piece, okay? So first thing is we follow the primary wave, what's called the primary wave in VectorVest. And that's the backbone of the entire system. It truly is. That's where a lot of the magic occurs. Now there's more to it. There's going to be some other magic that's going to come into play here as well. But that really is what allows us to get these kinds of returns, because when the market turns, it's very quick to signal, hey, the market's turning and it's time to start buying stocks. Also, when the market's turned down, it's very quick to help us get out of our portfolio and get out of harm's way. So real quick, let's go take a look at the primary wave and hit that point home. So if we come over here into VectorVest, I'm going to go right up to the top to the Timing tab, okay? And from the Timing tab, we'll go to the Market Timing Graph. All right, now when I get here, I'm going to go back to about a year so you can get some idea here, because I want to scroll back, and maybe the best place to start is, how in the world did you guys stave off all the potential losses back when COVID hit, or really began to hit, right? So if I come to the bottom here, we can of course click on something called the primary wave. And when I do that, I want you to focus on a few things here. Okay. So a green arrow is an arrow in which we look to go long the following day if the market is rising. And we go and buy 10 stocks if it is. And we use a search based upon something we'll tell you about here in just a little bit. Okay, that search can change and often does campaign to campaign. So there's the chance that for each one of these green arrows, we could be using a completely different search. Okay, but for now, let's keep the focus on the timing. So as I mentioned, when a green arrow is issued, we look to go long the following day if the market continues to rise. Okay. When a red arrow is signaled, that's a date in which we look to close down the campaign the following day if the market follows through to the downside, which you can see it did here on 224. And that's how we were able to stave off all the rest of, sort of the debacle, I guess I would say at this point, right? And then get us in very quickly when the market started to rally. Now, a lot of times when you have a huge market sell-off like this, you'll have a quick sharp rally for a few days and then kind of a retreat, and then it really gets moving. And that's sort of what happened here. So we did move to a cash position because you absolutely never know that that's going to be true, right? And then got back in, and this is where the portfolio really began to take off. It was back in, April. But again, it's going to do this not just this past year, but any year going forward. And so if we take a look at where we are today, we've had several different campaigns, and you can the thing I want you to observe is look at where price is when the green triangles appear and where price is as the red triangles appear, and what you see is a system that keeps you on the right side of the market far more often than not. And that's what you need to move the needle the way we do with these kinds of returns, okay? And when I say that, I mean year in and year out, okay? Now, there's going to be further questions to address. One thing I do want to get out of the gate here while we're on this graph, because I think it might help, is whatever search we start a campaign with, we continue to use that same search for the duration of the campaign. It can only change from campaign to campaign. Okay, so there's no reset on the search until you complete a cycle from green to red. Then you could potentially use a new search on the following green, depending on what we'll show you next. All right, so let's get to that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is what search to use. And what we're going to be using is a consistent Derby performer. And I know we're going to have a great write-up in the VectorVest Views this evening, centered around the VectorVest Derby. And what we're going to be showing here is a different perspective in how we come up with the best search for this particular way of trading the Derby. Okay. Now the key here is that first word, consistent. That truly is the key. So let's get to it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to VectorVest here, of course. I'm going to go right up to the Derby tab. And from the Derby tab, here is where the magic happens in terms of stock selection. Dr. DeLito and I traveled around to countless numbers of seminars and events at this point over, my goodness, I've been here almost 20 years, you know it? And the single most frequently asked question I think either one of us or anyone here, ever received was, guys, you got all these searches in VectorVest. Which is the one I should use right now? And while we always know there's about a baker's dozen or so strategies that we really love, like a hottest growth stocks or Seattle bear beater, and things of that nature, there's no guarantee that that's going to be the best pick the next time you think about using it, right? And so we came back and we said, guys, we need a tool, right, that can help us address the single most asked question we ever receive. And that's what you're looking at here. Okay, so what this does, it takes the best quality searches we have in the entire Unisearch tool, of which there's, I think, just over 200 that we're looking at this point. Okay, and what we do then is we have the ability to monitor the search performance. And what we do is we look at up to 10 stocks, as if you were to buy a 10 stock basket in any strategy. What it allows you to do then is see what the performance is over any time interval you want over the past 90 days. What you're looking at right now is a singular day. We're looking at the market open this morning to where we are now. And you've got ballistic new highs right up here at the top. So if I click in there, I can see what stocks are in that strategy. And you see B Square and LIZI and Transenterics, those stocks are going bananas. I know this OCGN has been getting a lot of press as well. And you can take a look at some of those stocks by just highlighting them and view the stock graph and see what they're doing. Go to like a 3-month graph here, get a peek, and see if it's something that you want to look at. Boy, this Transenterics is a little bit more consistently moving up, and so it's a great way to find stocks that are really moving. And then one of them, odds are, is going to catch your eye, because you can go down through the list, and just kind of eyeball all those stocks. Now, the other thing is, my goodness, if this complete basket of stocks overall, you got 8 stocks moving, 2 that are kind of working your way against you. So what if you just, thought about buying all the ones that are up? A lot of times that's a pretty good methodology to get you off to a good start. But, one day doesn't necessarily make a robust strategy. What we know right now is these are the strategies that are on fire today, right? But when we were putting this system together, the thing that dawned on me as I sat down to, Dr. Zito came to me one day and said, Steve, we went to all the trouble to put this tool together. What we need to do is figure out a scientific way to use this thing to consistently make money, right? And the first thing that dawned on me as I sat down to conquer that task, is we've got all this data. We've got 90 days worth of 3 calendar months anyway of trading data. That's usually about 64 to 67 some odd days, just about any time I look. So let me show you what I mean. I can come over here, and there's many different analysis modes. And what I did was I wanted at least double confirmation of strategy selection. So we're going to use 2 of these modes that I felt were the most robust to make the assessment of consistent derby strategy. Okay, we're going to start with vary the start date. Now, when I do this, instead of just looking at a singular data point, a drop-down calendar will appear, and I can go all the way back to 3 months ago. And we can take a look at, say, November 11th through yesterday, February 11th, or even right up to the current day if you like. But a lot of times we make this assessment before the bell rings, okay? So typically you're going to be going like an 11 to an 11, barring some kind of holiday. All right, now with that being said, what you have now is a different slice, a different look, right? Seattle Bear Beaters wasn't at the top today, but what we see is that is the most consistent strategy from a buy and hold perspective over the last 63 trading days. You can see the number over here to the left, okay? And so what do I mean by that? Well, if I click on the green bar, now we've got a different look. You're not looking at the stocks because we're looking for strategy consistency. Thereby, we know that on any day that I picked Seattle Bear Beaters, I had a very good chance, no matter what 10 stocks were in there, to make money. That's the main message, right? So if we look back at the history here, from the first run, November 11th of 20 to February 11th of this year, you had 10 stocks. So this strategy finds 10 stocks on a consistent basis, okay? And we like to invest in 10 right out of the gate, so that's good. 100% winners. All of them went up over that 3-month cycle. 84% return on investment, which is super good, right? That's annualized out to 330% with very little drawdown and a high efficiency rate. So terrific result here. Now, what we care about most is not so much all of this information here. What we care about most is the one that's at the top, what we're trying to do is isolate a strategy that, as you look at the result here, look at how many stocks were picked, how many winners you have, what the gain loss was. So as we continue down the list here, boy, you see just gain after gain after gain. Look, this one was up 190% from middle of December up through 2/11. Okay, and so what we're holding constant is that end date. Whenever you do a scientific experiment, you only want to vary one thing at a time. So we're just varying the purchase date. The sell date, it always remains constant. Now the stocks that are in there certainly can be different on a daily basis. And a lot of that has to do with search. If it's a conservative blue chip kind of strategy, and sometimes we've selected those, because they were the most robust. A lot of times there's not a lot of turnover, in a strategy that's looking at blue chips, high safety stocks, and there shouldn't be, right? Whereas with a price and volume scan, like price volume boomers or something, you could literally have 10 new stocks each and every single day. But the beautiful thing about it is that it doesn't matter. Whatever has been working the best, whether it's buying those high safety stocks or buying those exploding stocks for the last 3 months, that's what the Derby is isolating for you, okay? And so, you can go in and you can look at all the runs. You can even look most recently. And we have hit some volatility here over the last 3 days, and you'll see that here in a little bit. But it's been a terrific strategy for us, and you'll see that as well, okay? All right, so with that being said, we didn't pick Seattle Bear Beaters just because it was at the top of this list, because knowing a little bit about the primary wave, you saw some brief excerpts of charts moments ago, right? And you saw that, boy, it looks like a campaign's only about maybe 7 or 10 days in length on average, right? So we can't really utilize that full 3 months to the best of that ability, right? But what we can do is try to find a strategy that not only is good from a buy and hold perspective, but is also good in the first week, gets off the ground fast and runs. And so the way that we do that is with another analysis mode called sliding window. So sliding window, what it's going to do is hold a number of days constant. So in other words, do I want to see strategies that make the most money consistently over a 3-day period, a 2-day period, a 5-day period, a 10-day period, and so on? Well, I started with 5. It was the very first number I chose. I figured a week. I want my stock selection strategy to have good long-term potential, because we might hit a good run in the stock market and go on a couple-month run, But I also wanted to find that that strategy that also got off the ground running quickly in that first week. And lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, Seattle Bear Beaters is number 2 on this list, And so how we pick strategies is we look for the strategy with the lowest score. And what I mean by that, it was the top of the other list, and it's number 2 on this list. 1 plus 2 is 3. So unless there's another strategy up here that's got a lower score than 3, that's the one you pick. Sometimes you run into a tie. That's happened on more occasions than I ever thought it might. And what we do, and so far with good success, is we use this mode as the tiebreaker. So if 2 strategies have a score of 4, or in this case maybe 3, whichever one was higher on this list with the lower score on this list would be the tie-breaking element. Okay, so in this case, unless it could be show me the money long if it were 2 on the other list, then you would go with show me the money long. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, perfect. That's not the case. Seattle Beer Beater is 1 on the other list, 2 on this list, and there's not another strategy around it getting close besides marijuana stocks. And we'll see if that continues to have legs, because if it doesn't, Seattle Bear Beater is likely to maintain that separation. Whereas if the marijuana stocks, can somehow regroup from what's been happening here lately, they might overtake. Because if I go back to the other list, it's number 2 on this list, see? And so they're moving. Now, what I just said is very important, because this methodology won't ever look at them at all unless they do keep moving. See what I mean? And so that's the beauty of the system. And so far, it's treated us very, very well, as I've mentioned, for the last 3 years. And, I know it can seem a little elementary, at least in how we determine the strategy, but the beauty is in the data that we're leveraging to make the decision, not in how we keep score, and all that kind of fun stuff. Because at the end of the day, what we're landing on is a consistent Derby performer, what we said we're looking for, right? So right now we've been using Seattle Bear Beater. By the way, we have used Seattle Bear Beaters more than a dozen times in the last 3 years. In fact, in the very first year, I used it 6 times in a row. And you know what? It works really well in the later stages of exuberant runs. That's why we call it Bear Beater. It really gets legs as the market gets higher and higher. And so it's not surprising to me whatsoever that we've been utilizing Seattle Bear Beaters here again at this point this year. All right, so enough of that. I got to round third base and start heading home. All right, so I'm going to go back over here, and here's how we sell. We sell really on 2 different subjects. One, if the primary wave turns down, we sell everything we own the following day, if the market follows through, okay, to the downside. Or along the way, during the campaign, we use Profit Locker, and we use just plain Profit Locker at this point, 28.7 profit to loss ratio, okay, 28% target, 7% stop. Let me go and show you what Profit Locker 28.7 actually looks like. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go into RoboTrader. Here you can see, oh boy, we're getting back towards, if the market keeps running today, eventually we're going to be green here. We were off a couple of percent early on this morning as the market was under a little bit of pressure again. And again, this past 3-day cycle has, you can see, dipped us off a bit. We closed at 97% just about 3 days ago. And, as this market turns and hopefully starts to get some upward legs again, if that is to be the case, I expect we'll be challenging that high price here pretty soon once again. Okay, so it's just a function of market direction and volatility, right? Now, as I mentioned moments ago, let's take a look at what the Profit Locker stop looks like, because I can show you a beautiful way to present that. I'm going to go to Manage Trading System here. And by the way, guys, I'm going to give you some links to prior videos where I go through all the settings of the trading system. I'm not going to go through that whole process again. Know this, I have a document that I can send folks who have the Derby that walks you literally step by step, click by click through how to put this up, how to put this together, okay? But what you can see here in the trading system is we're trading the primary wave. As we said we would, we buy stocks long on up waves with the strategy of choice for the current wave. As we mentioned and just showed you, that's Seattle Bear Beater, okay? And we go to cash in a down. If I click on Customize, here's where you put all those settings into play. You pick your search, you go to Stop Criteria, and here's Profit Locker, okay? So in Profit Locker, what we've landed on and what has just continued to work, we did start with 28.7, 21.7. So there has been one change. we went to 28.7 just to push those winners a little bit higher. And we've actually had 7 stocks at this point that have closed north of 40% on our ROI. And I'll explain how that can happen as we get into this picture over here on the right. Okay, so in order to draw out Profit Locker, it's got some moving parts in there. Let's just leave it at that for now. What we have to do is assume linear price movement, as if the stock just went up tick after tick after tick, or day after day after day, at the same percentage. Then what you have is a stop loss that starts out with a trailing stop, okay? Then once profitability is achieved based upon stop, in this case it would be a 7% trailing stop early on in the trade, just to give you divulge some information, right? So once we secure profitability, you can see it broadens out and allows some further volatility to actually creep into the trade and not bounce you out of it. And then as you start to get more and more towards your target, then it starts to accelerate upwards and really lock those profits in. You'll also see a final trailing component there. This one is a 1% trailing stop up at that point. And the idea is you've made it to your target. If it keeps just going up like a rocket, we don't want to sell it. You know, that's how we got the 7 stocks that have gone up more than 40%. A lot of those gapped, you know, to get there, because that 1%, that's pretty tight. I mean, that stock really just has to consistently keep moving at that stage. So this is done intraday even, okay? So it's not just based on end of day data there. All right, so with that being said, you know, let's get back over and round into home plate. There's a couple of prior special presentations where I go a lot more into the settings and actually give you some of the early excitement when we first began to kick this thing off and really make it public to our subscribers a few years back. So 9/7/2018, there was a special presentation just like this one on Become a Swing Trading Wizard. Same title even, right? For whatever reason, we changed that title up to Swing Trading Made Easy on 11/5/2019. But that is really on the same methodology that we explained here as well. Okay, so you can look at a couple other times there and see how consistent this strategy has been. You've seen a 2021 perspective. Now you can look at 18 and 19 there as well. Okay, all right. If any of that seemed challenging whatsoever, listen, I've learned so many times over and over in my lifetime that you can do anything you want to do. There's no such thing as can't. The real question is want. Do you want to do it? Do you want to try to get involved in a system that can yield you potentially 50 to 60% annualized rates of return on a consistent basis, right? There's no guarantees, obviously. All I can do is share the last 3 consecutive years worth of experience with you, right? But boy, you know, we might have another strategy 2 years from now and we're still clicking along at that same clip, you know? And so, listen, if this is something you want to do, I can help make that a reality for you. VectorVest will make that a reality for you, most importantly, right? And we'll help guide you every step of the way on your journey to becoming a swing trading wizard. Okay, we will take you by the hand and show you exactly how to do it. And so on top of learning about how the trading system works and guiding you and taking your hand and making sure that you fully understand that system, you know, we do something every single day called the Jockey Club. It's a live trading room. We get together at 9 a.m. every morning. So we've got about 30 minutes of preparatory work before the bell rings. Those are situations where we identify strategy we're going to use for a campaign, you know, where we get those trades loaded up and everybody can see what we're doing. You know, everybody can see the 10 trades that I'm getting ready to do in this next campaign. That kind of thing. You know, make sure, you know, if it's something you want to follow along with, that your settings are correct, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Along with just getting ready for the day in general. You know, what does, you know, step-by-step guidance on market direction? What do the end-of-day market signals look like? What does our intraday market timing signal look like? You know, in the Derby, there's actually, let me show you. Let me go back over here to the Derby. There's actually an intraday timing model, which right now is firmly bullish. You have 2 indicators here, both on a 0 to 2 scale. The bullish indicator is coming in at a reading of 1.56, and the bearish indicator is coming in at a value of 0.57. So which you know, what sense do you get from that, right? Well, the market's bullish. You know, that's the sense you get. As soon as that green bar goes above 1, continues to climb, you know, we feel better and better about it. Once it gets above 1.2, we feel pretty certain that the market's more likely to go and follow through in that direction. You get up to a 1.56, you know, and the market's really clicking along at that point. And so you can even graph it, and you can see here that the DTI really made its first strong move above 1.2 fairly early in the day, even before 10 o'clock. And you know, in the event that you want to wait for the 10 o'clock rule that we have here at VectorVest before you do any executions, you can see it's still climbing and making a new high watermark. Yep, you go ahead and you make your entries. You know, that's what this is telling you here, okay? Pretty cool stuff, right? All right, so you also get daily insight on proper stock selection. We talk about those top strategies and the baskets of stocks that are in there. We look at them. We try to find some good cherry picking candidates for additional trades above and beyond the trading system. And a lot of our folks in the Jockey Club have gotten a ton, and I mean ton, of value out of a lot of those cherry picks. We found end phase at $11. What is it now? $211 or something, right? And many, many, many more. So it's just been terrific. And you get guidance on setups, entries, and exits on all of the trades that we look at. We have group interaction, which is great. Now, we're starting to get a huge amount of folks. So, we do our best as far as group interaction is concerned at this point. But no, we look at a lot of stocks that people are trading. If somebody's on a hot trade, we have them give us the symbol and we put it up there on the screen and everybody gets to take a peek at it, and we decide if we like it too. We look at stock news, market news, and from time to time we have fun and engaging competition. So it's just a great little group, And like I mentioned, the real value here is you get some of VectorVest's absolute best coaches, at least as far as trading is concerned, on a daily basis. On a daily basis. 1.5 hours every day. It's going to be myself, Glenn Tompkins, Patrick France, or Jerry D'Ambrosio. Okay, those would be the 4 guys that are traditionally in the barrel here. Now, you guessed it, we're going to give you an opportunity to get involved. And the best news yet, that opportunity is free. You're going to get a free 30-day trial to everything I just talked about. You're going to get real time. You're going to get VectorVest Derby, because it only runs in real time, as you might have guessed, looking at those intraday results, right? On that 30-day trial, what I always tell folks is, if we can't prove to you for free in that first 30 days that it's worth sticking around for the rest of the year, don't do it. If your only objective is to come and watch me fail, bring it on. Because I know if I get you there, it's over, We're not going to do that, I can promise you. As I mentioned, includes the real-time service upgrade. And all you got to do is go to this website at the bottom right now to take us up on that offer. www.vectorvest.com/derby trial. Okay, and you're there. You'll get all the information you need to get going. So if you can do it over the course of the next couple of days here, we hope to see you Tuesday morning. Markets are closed Monday, right? But we hope to see you Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, and let the fun begin. Let the fun begin. Also, just real quick, for those that are interested in just further swing trading and like to trade more just by the charts, and observations that can be made there, here's a different kind of an offer where you can go to www.vectorvest.com/PST for our precision swing trading course. I bring this up because we're right now in the midst of relaunching precision swing trading. It's a lot of fun. You got some great coaches in there. It'll be Jerry D'Ambrosio, Dr. David Paul, and myself. And we look at charting patterns and technical scans that VectorVest has and things of this nature to identify some wonderful trading opportunities by looking at the charts at the end of the day. So that's a great potential thing to get involved with here as well. Okay. And if I bring that up here really quick, got a terrific deal going. You can see just $4.95. If you decide that it's something that you want to do over the course of this weekend. I'm not sure how long that offer is going to be valid, but I know at least through the weekend. So $4.95 normal cost there, $995, and you just click and get rolling. All right, so guys, thanks for spending some time with me here today. There's always a lot more that we could have talked about there. I tried to streamline it as best I could, but the main thing is, I'm just going to go right back to that most important slide for me in this presentation, and that was, there's no such thing as can't. If this is something you want to do, we can make it a reality for you, and we can do it starting Tuesday of next week. So get into the Jockey Club, and we'll see you there.